Hi, it's Marcus again from Aroma Thyme, and I'm here to talk to the staff about the salmon we use at the restaurant. Salmon's an important part of the diet, has high omega-3s, really a healthy fish. Now, at the restaurant and in our own personal life, we're very strict about the salmon we eat. We only eat wild Alaskan salmon. There's Atlantic salmon, which is all farm-raised. We don't touch farm-raised. So if a customer asks you where our salmon's from, it's never farm-raised, it's never Atlantic. Atlantic farm-raised salmon is the one that's loaded with the chemicals, dioxins, and PCBs. They put food dye in it.
Just to get it to be the color.
Just to get it to be the color, because it's not a natural fish. The food they feed it's inadequate, so that's why they have to add the dye. The fish are packed together in pens in the ocean, sort of like cattle feedlots, but there's salmon in the ocean. The amount of an average salmon farm will dump enough fecal matter into the ocean as a village or city the size of 10,000 people. That's huge. Every day just being dumped into the bottom of the ocean, all this fecal matter, because these salmon farms are like that, and it's not clean salmon. These salmon escape out into the wild in the Atlantic Ocean, and they're unfit to reproduce, first of all. So they can't go out into the wild and so all of a sudden help the wild population. It doesn't work like that. They escape into the wild and they compete with the wild salmon for the wild salmon's food, and there's very few Atlantic wild salmon left. Estimates are less than 100,000 right now. They monitor them in Maine and up and down the coast, and they'll monitor 20 wild salmon fishing swimming up the river in some of these rivers. It's really pathetic what we've done to Atlantic salmon. We've decimated it. So whether it's from Scotland, Norway, Chile, Canada, or Maine, it's all farm-raised. Atlantic salmon is all farm-raised. Some farms may be doing better than others, like Loch Duhart. I'm not knocking some of the better ones, but as a general rule, salmon farms are not, we don't want to touch salmon farms. The gold seal for salmon is West Coast salmon. It ranges from California, just like halibut, all the way up into Alaska. It has a strict season. It runs from in April. The rivers kick off. The Stakine and Taku River kick off, and the Copper River kicks off in May. And you have ocean caught fish, little ocean troll caught fish before that and into the summer, and it goes up until almost October, November, depending upon the quotas in the year. Each year is sometimes a little different. Sometimes they open some rivers, like the Yukon River gets open some year for king. Some years it doesn't get open. So we want wild caught Alaskan salmon. That's all we serve. We don't touch the salmon from the lower states at all.
What's so good about the wild Alaskan salmon? What are the qualities that are in it?
It's monitored. They monitor the fish as they swim up the stream. They track them with a sonar device. They count the fish as they go up. As soon as a certain number of fish go up to spawn, to lay eggs and spawn...
Because they always go to the same spot.
They go to the exact same spot. As soon as they go up the river to spawn, then they start catching after enough fish have gone up to adequately reproduce and fill the ocean up again with salmon. It's very monitored. Alaska's mission, their constitution is sustainability. It's in their constitution. So then the salmon go back out to sea, or actually the salmon don't, because the actual salmon, I think at that point, die. I think they're just basically, they stop eating as they start to swim up, and they use all their stored energy and then lay the eggs. And I believe that's it for the salmon. I haven't been there personally to watch that, but I want to. Jim, I need to get up there to Alaska and check that out. So the salmon are monitored in Alaska. We use several different species. There's a king species we use. King and Chinook is the same. Sockeye, coho are all great. Chum, there's some chums that are really good. I like Yukon chums. So there's one more like a silver salmon, there's one or pink salmon. So there's like five or six different species of West Coast salmon. I try to, at the restaurant, only buy line-caught salmon. That's a very, very, very important line-caught salmon. I did a video on halibut, and halibut, I talked about how they gill net things, and certain things are netted, where they drop the nets in, the fish swim into the nets, and they pick the nets up. The fish are basically unharmed. There's a system called gill netting, where the nets have holes in them, and the nets are dropped down. The small fish swim through the holes. The bigger fish get in, and they get wedged into the net, to the gill nets. So when the fish goes and realizes he can't swim through it, he goes to pull back out. But when he goes to pull back out, his gills get caught in the nets called gill nets. Now, that fish will sit there for hours and struggle to try to get out, flap and struggle.
So that's not very sustainable.
It's not really that sustainable. Might be the wrong word. Ethical might be a different approach to it. It's a horrific way of killing salmon. They're sitting there in these nets and everything. Not saying that there's any nicer way to kill anything or to put anything down. But the fish goes through a lot more stress that way. So when they pull it up, the fish are beat up because they're smacking all day, and they get beat up and bruised. Typical guide is when you look at salmon, if you go into a high quality store, if we ship fresh salmon in, if the heads are on the salmon, there's no way that salmon was in a gill net, because once the heads go in the gill net, the gills get all screwed up and everything. It doesn't look presentable. You would never send a whole fish that doesn't look presentable. So they cut the heads off and send them headed and gutted. We are very strict, and we found a couple great companies up there that are hook and line fisheries. One hook, one line, troll caught, where they're actually sitting at the mouth, hook and line caught, one line, one hook. They're pulling each fish out, one by one by one, which is a phenomenal way to do it. The fish go under less stress. It's more sashimi or sushi grade. It's a higher quality. It's just an all better looking, less damaged piece of meat all the way around. So what we serve here at the restaurant, if anybody asks you, because they will ask you, staff, I guarantee this, we serve wild Alaskan salmon, and we try to, most of the time, I mean 99% of the time, stick to a line-caught salmon. Line-caught Alaskan wild salmon. We serve
always
it all
wild.
year. Always wild. All year long. Now, I mentioned the seasons. When it's not in season, and even when it is in season, we do buy a frozen product. Comes same fishery, hook and line caught, gets caught, frozen right away. Before it hits rigor mortis, it's in the freezer, all processed up, incredible. By the time we get it here, we can use it under convenience to frost it. Has a very, very, very small microbial count, much fresher than its fresh counterpart. Because remember, fresh, what's the opposite of fresh? A lot of us say, well, fresh and rotten, right? Well, when have you ever known frozen fish to be rotten? So fresh and frozen are not opposite. Fresh and frozen are sort of on the same side. If it's properly done cryogenically by like -80 degrees, flash frozen, blast frozen, the fish is super, super fresh, and it's a phenomenal quality. So you can't get any better than that. Sometimes fish will sit around in a warehouse. They'll go to New York. They'll send it to a vendor. They'll get shipped to us, and it honestly takes sometimes a week, 10 days for fish to actually get to a place. So by buying a frozen fish, we're really cutting that deterioration period way down. So it's really a valuable resource to buy the right frozen shrimp, a right frozen salmon. Some fish, they catch it, they can't sell it, they freeze it. That's not proper. But if they're catching the fish right from the get-go and they understand that this fish is going right to the freezer and they're going to handle it as such, then you've got a home run. That's much, much better. So the only salmon we serve at the restaurant, again, is wild Alaskan line-caught salmon. We're dead sold on it. It eats this stuff called chlorella and krill in the ocean, which gives it its high omega contents.